Before we begin working with WordPress itself, it's important to understand how the application works. This will make it easier to grasp what happens when we set up WordPress for the first time, when you create and publish new content, and when you extend WordPress with new themes and plugins. As I explained in the previous chapter, WordPress is an application that works alongside a database on your server. Now we can dive in a little deeper and look at how this all fits together in more detail. For WordPress to work, we need three things: WordPress itself, a web server that supports PHP and MySQL where WordPress can be stored and run, and finally, a database where WordPress can store its data. We'll look at how WordPress is installed and configured later in this chapter. For now, let's look at how WordPress works once everything is up and running. In WordPress, we can make a number of different types of content: posts, pages, and media items. And each of these can have comments associated with them, and each can be extended with additional functionality through themes and plugins. When a new post, page, or media item is created, a new entry is made in the WordPress database containing all the information associated with that item: title, content, author, publishing date, relationships, and so on. If files are uploaded, these are also referenced in the database, and relationships are created for future retrieval. Once the item is published, it can be accessed through the web using a URL. When the visitor enters the URL in their browser, WordPress retrieves the data from the database and populates the correct template for that type of content based on the current available theme. The result is what the user will perceive as your website. Finally, if the visitor chooses to leave a comment about the item, it will be entered into the database and associated with the item for future retrieval. What makes this process so powerful is that rather than building new web pages in the form of individual HTML documents, when we use WordPress, we just create database entries, and the application builds the pages on the fly when they are requested by the visitor. To borrow an explanation from science fiction, there is no page. There is only the idea of a page, realized when someone visits the URL through the browser. This also means you can edit the content of an item at any time, and that you can change the appearance of one piece of content or your entire site without changing the content itself. And you'll learn how to do all of this as we progress through this course.